Alrighty. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are Team 16, and today we are excited to present our narrative analysis on the company Target. As a part of our BCom case competition, we've been tasked with examining how a company communicates its story, including what messages are being told, how consistent they are, and how well they're landing with stakeholders. We decided to select Target not just because of its strong presence in retail, but because of its recognizable identity, one that blends affordability, design, and community values. Our job is to break that story apart and find ways to strengthen it where it's needed. Now, before we dive in, I'd like to introduce our team. I am Griffin Devrins, and I've had the privilege of working with Leonardo Gonzalez, Marcus Miller, Matthew Weiss, Claudia Cortez, and Sierra Gomez. Each of us brought different strengths to the table, including strategic insight, content strategy, analysis, and project design. And this project reflects that teamwork. So here's how we're going to be structuring our presentation. We'll begin by outlining Target's brand narrative. A brand narrative is what the company says about itself and how it wants to be perceived. We will then highlight key issues and challenges that threaten that narrative, followed by an analysis of the disconnects between Target's intended message and how it's actually being received. After that, we will walk through a stakeholder analysis to identify the audiences most impacted by these gaps. And finally, we'll then close by offering a refined communication objective that helps Target tell a clearer and more aligned story moving forward. Now, at its core, Target's brand narrative revolves around being a one-stop shop for quality, affordability, and style, all wrapped in a playful modern identity. From the iconic red bullseye to campaigns that promote inclusivity and value, Target aims to present itself as both accessible and forward-thinking. But as we will explore today, there are also moments where that narrative does not fully translate, whether it be in public perception, stakeholder alignment, or communication strategy. Our presentation will break down why those gaps matter and what can be done to close them.
Target Corporation has achieved a notable 10% increase in quarterly sales, reaching $90 billion annually, driven by strong performance in grocery and apparel with a 15% market share. Target's customer base is diverse, primarily aged between 25 and 45, and predominantly female with an average household income of $75,000. Online sales account for 40% with significant growth in mobile app usage. Key product categories include home goods, electronics, and fashion with a strong preference for Target's private labels. Customer satisfaction stands at an impressive 85% with opportunities to enhance delivery speed and the online shopping experience. Target is highly regarded with 70% of respondents rating it positively and leading in perceived value and shopping experience against competitors like Walmart and Amazon. Employee satisfaction is at 80%, driven by effective internal communication and career development programs. Technological adoption is high, with 50% of customers using self-checkout systems and mobile app usage increasing by 30% year over year. Community involvement is substantial, with over $200 million donated to local initiatives and 100,000 hours of community service through programs like Target Volunteers. These insights will guide us in reinforcing Target's strengths, addressing areas for improvement, and engaging stakeholders effectively.
Great. I'm going to be talking about Target's company narrative. And Target is telling a very specific story to its stakeholders. At the core, the company wants to be seen as a brand that makes stylish and affordable products available to everyday people. But it's not just about price. Target also emphasizes quality, community connection, and progressive values. And we see this in their long-standing tagline, "Expect more, pay less," which promises both value and elevated experience. Their DEI and sustainability efforts are promoted in press releases, and they regularly highlight these commitments in investor meetings. This messaging is echoed across their advertising, which features diverse models and focuses on inclusivity and convenience. Now, the takeaway here is that Target isn't just selling products. They're selling a lifestyle and a set of values. They want consumers to see them as both cost-conscious and socially responsible, rooted in the communities that they serve.
Great. Diving into some of the key issues and challenges. So, with every company comes challenges. As we examine Target's brand story, it's clear that the company promotes an image of inclusivity, affordability, and community support. However, when we look beyond the surface, we start to see major gaps between the narrative and the actual employee experience. First, let's talk about the employee feedback. Many workers have reported issues like unpredictable scheduling, unrealistic productivity goals, and reduced hours following wage increases. This points to a significant disconnect between Target's promise of being a great place to work and the day to day reality of many team members. Second, there's been a noticeable backtracking on DEI commitments. Initiatives like REACH, which once helped set Target apart, have either been scaled back or quietly discontinued. That raises concerns about the company's follow through on its stated values. Lastly, labor relations remain a major topic of conversation. Target has taken a strong anti union stance, and there's concern that job security and worker protections are not as strong as the brand suggests. The bottom line here is that the biggest challenge to Target's brand story is internal. There's a credibility gap that we need to work on. What our company says doesn't always match how we operate. If left unchecked, that gap risks eroding trust with both employees and customers. But I am positive we can work together to change this.
Now, I'll be closely analyzing the contradiction between Target's progressive public image and its internal practices. Target markets itself as a socially responsible company, but its actions suggest a disconnect between the message and stakeholder perception. In terms of labor practices, Target promotes itself as a people-first company, offering competitive wages and benefits. However, line employees report high-pressure workloads and limited advancement opportunities. In 2020, Target raised its minimum wage to $15 per hour. However, workers reported reduced hours, resulting in decreased overall income. Another issue that employees report is that part-time status is used strategically, limiting worker access to benefits such as healthcare, retirement, and paid time off. Workplace conditions. Many employees also cite pressure to meet productivity quotas with limited staff, which leads to stress and employee burnout. Specifically during the pandemic, employees described insufficient health protections and a lack of continuity in their hazard pay. Also, Target's just-in-time scheduling model only allows shift changes, or rather, allows shift changes to within short notice, which leads to increased levels in employee dissatisfaction. Shifting DEI priorities. Target had promoted itself as a corporate leader in diversity and equity and inclusion. It pledged to increase Black representation and committed $2 billion to Black-owned businesses by 2025. But in January of 2025, Target announced the end of its DEI initiatives, signaling a change in their stance. From the stakeholder perspective, the shift raises questions about the sincerity of Target's initial commitments. Additionally, former and current employees note that the DEI values were not reflected in promotion practices or in internal leadership diversity, suggesting that they're focusing on perception rather than on structural changes. Finally, on their anti-union activities, in light of these conditions, employees have attempted to organize, but Target has consistently resisted their unionizing efforts. Target has employed traditional anti-union strategies, which include interrogations and mandatory meetings to persuade employees against organizing. There are also allegations of employee surveillance and firings of pro-union organizers. So in this case, Target is publicly emphasizing employee engagement, and privately it invests in union avoidance and invests also in legal support to deter union organizing. Bridging the gap. So in light of the recent rollbacks on DEI and aggressive anti-union stance, this is leading to undermining the trust, and also it risks alienating the consumers and the workers that they claim to support. So in order for them to maintain the credibility and long-term loyalty of their customers, they must bridge the gap between its internal policies and the external image.
Then we're going to do a stakeholder analysis. Why are stakeholder analysis important? In 2023, Target's stock price dropped by 14% in reaction to a boycott of its Pride 2023 merchandise. This represented a 10 billion loss in market cap. And recently in 2025, the CEO acknowledged that there was a 7% decrease in their foot traffic, and this was partially due to the DEI backlash of them having removed their DEI policies. Now, some of the stakeholders are the customers, government officials, activist groups, shareholders, management, and other competitors. Understanding each of the stakeholders' concern is very important to tailor a message. Customers want to spend their hard-earned money and their time in companies that share their values. Now, not all customers share the same values. Government agencies, they want to ensure that they follow closely the regulations and policies set by them. There was a new change in administration recently, and then with that came new changes in policies. Activist groups, they want their opinions to be shared by the company. Now, it's very important to denote that they're not necessarily our customers. And again, not all activist groups are going to have the same goals. Shareholders, they're going to want to maximize the value in their investment. They're concerned with management leading the company to growth and profitability. Prioritizing stakeholders. Customers will be definitive stakeholders. They hold high power, high legitimacy, and high urgency. Government officials, they're going to be classified as dependent/dangerous stakeholders. They also hold high power, high legitimacy, and high urgency. Activist groups, they're going to be considered dangerous stakeholders. They hold high power, low legitimacy, and high urgency. Shareholders, they're going to be dominant. They hold medium to low power, high legitimacy, and medium urgency. Each stakeholder is going to have a different communication plan. For our customers, the utilization of tailored targeted ads specifically to them and to their interests, and localize the decisions of prime merchandise based on the store managers. They can better decide what works for their community. For government officials, it's going to be important that we communicate with the DOJ and the EEOC regarding the changes in the DEI initiatives. For activist groups, it'll be helpful to meet with their leaders and to hear their concerns, and at the same time, host town halls with these groups so they can voice their concerns. For shareholders, we should communicate on the quarterly earnings, the strategies that we're going to implement, and contingency plans to prevent the impact from these boycotts and any future issues.
Now let's focus on our communication objective and the key messages that we need to convey to our stakeholders. Our primary communication objective is to align Target's sustainability narrative with the stakeholders' expectations. This alignment is crucial for enhancing transparency, trust, and engagement across all stakeholder groups. Our goal is to ensure that all stakeholders understand and support Target sustainability initiatives, which will lead to improved public perception and stronger relationships. For our employees, we want to emphasize that their role is crucial in driving sustainability goals, that we are committed to providing the necessary resources and training to help them succeed. Additionally, we value their feedback and encourage them to share their ideas and concerns to continuously improve our practices. To our customers, we highlight Target's dedication to providing sustainable, high-quality products. We aim to educate them on our sustainability efforts and how these efforts benefit both them and the environment. We want to convey that their choices matter in supporting a sustainable future. For our investors, we communicate that our sustainability initiatives are designed to drive long-term growth and value. Transparency about our progress and challenges is key, and we invite them to join us in making a positive impact by investing in Target. Our suppliers are vital partners in this journey. We value our partnerships and are committed to working together towards sustainable practices, and we encourage collaboration to innovate and implement sustainable solutions in our supply chain. Lastly, we assure regulatory bodies that Target is dedicated to meeting and exceeding sustainability standards. We commit to transparent reporting and compliance with all regulations, and we seek to partner with them to advance sustainable practices and policies in the industry. By clearly defining our communication objective and crafting targeted key messages, we can effectively bridge the gap between Target's sustainability narrative and stakeholder expectations, fostering a more cohesive and supportive environment. Thank you for your time, and we now open the floor for questions.